just have to go with that. Anyway, I want to get on here live because my phone, like I said in a few other videos, has just been acting entirely too freaking squirrely for my liking. So here I am live again. Well, with that said, let's get into why I'm shooting this video, among other things. But first off, though, let's start with this. I'm going to talk about some stuff, and I said this in the description, so don't say you weren't warned. I say it in the video now, and I'm going to say I said it in the description. I'm going to talk about some stuff that people might find gross. It's medical stuff, and I feel that I need to clear some things up, medically speaking, with a few things that have been going on. Because there's apparently been, I get the impression that there's been a misunderstanding somewhere in the pipes. So, with that said, I want to clear it up as far as I know. You're going to hear my side of everything. And then there's like some other side issues that have been going on too. Okay. I'm going to start with this past weekend. Today, for like the next 9 minutes, is almost January. July 10th, 2023. It's Monday. Okay. I didn't have a good weekend this weekend because apparently my mother is getting worse. Apparently. And she is. I know that some of you, like over like the last dozen videos I've been shooting or so, I've been talking about Tony and his medical issue with his foot. There's one thing I haven't mentioned in all of that, okay, is what's going on with my mom. Okay, and I just want some of you to understand that apparently y'all don't realize that, yeah, I care about my mom. Okay, I do. Just to clear that up, yes, I care about my mom. Okay, yes, I do. I'd be lying if I said different. Okay, but right now, I'm more not to sound ungrateful about my mom, and some of you are going to pretend that I said that. I did not. Okay, I'm very grateful for my mom, just so we all understand. Okay, but, and it's a great big hippo, Fiona-sized butt, and Fiona's a hippo that lives over at the Cincinnati, Ohio Zoo. It's a Fiona-sized rear end, okay? I'm right now very worried about Tony getting it together, okay? Because, hello, I am married to Tony. I mean, my first obligation, just so some of you understand this when I say this, Tony is my first priority, okay? Tony is my first priority. It's not, like I said, it's not that I don't care about my mom. That is not it. Don't go around saying that Melanie doesn't care about her mom. That's a lie. The truth is, if I have to pick between, hi Rosie, if I have to pick between spending time with my mom and taking care of Tony, guess what? I'm going to spend time with Tony. My mom completely understands this. In fact, before what happened on Friday evening, Mom had a conversation with me, and she said, I realize that you're, freaked out about Tony. She's like, that's fine. I understand what's going on. I mean, she was being cool about it. I mean, and this has been a frustrating time for me. And I haven't talked about Mom and her situation at all. Okay? Here's what's been going on. Since June 13th of 2022, so it's, almost a year now. Or, well, year and a month now, more accurately. Last 13 months. Mom hasn't been doing good. It started like around my birthday last year in June. Mom kept saying, I keep feeling where like it was like her whole left side was, like not feeling good. And then it was like her leg went weak. And then I was here at home with Tony, and I was in there in the living room just chilling, on a Tuesday evening. And I get this phone call from my mom, and she's like, I don't feel good. Is there anything you think I should do? I'm like, Why in the world are you on the phone with me, Mom? Get off the phone with me and call 911, which she did. And I said, because you need to get an ambulance out there, because I said, I'm here and you're there, and there's nothing I can do for you from here. I was like, other than to tell you to get off the phone with me and go call 911 and get the ambulance to take you to the hospital. Well, that's what she did. Okay, and we're talking on the night of June 13th, 2022. This is that day. Well, oh, that was a lot of fun for Tony. This is, June of last year. Well, I go flying up the staircase behind me. And I'm like screaming at Tony, and I'm trying to get I'm like throwing things at Tony, and I'm throwing this here, throwing that there, and I'm like, I said, don't get undressed, don't take off your shoes. I'm like, we've got to get, I got to put on some clothes. I'm like, we got to leave. I got to go to the hospital. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, it's Mom. And he could tell I was freaking out. I mean, and it's just, this was before what happened in April, of course, with Tony's foot. We get to the hospital. Okay. Mom was talking to me prior to this just fine. She's talking like I'm talking now, just fine. There's nothing wrong. Between the time she gets off the phone with me and the time I see her at the hospital, she's slurring her words like she'd been drinking. And she was completely confused and just, it had all gone south. It was a good thing I told Mom to get an ambulance. Because, it had all gone south by the time we got up to the hospital. Well, it got to the point where it's just Tony and myself at the hospital at this point with Mom. And the doctor comes to me and says, you're going to have to call the family. And I'm thinking, oh shit. That was an oh shit moment. I was like, oh shit. Excuse my language. That's the only way you can put it is oh shit. I was like, oh my God, oh shit. And it's like, I just sent a text message around to all the family members that I could think of that were close. And I'm like, at hospital with Mom. I basically said, look, I'm at the hospital with Mom. The doctor said that y'all need to come up here. And I'm like, I told him what hospital I was at, and I said, we're in room, whatever. I'm like, if y'all could, please come up here, because the doctor said that, it is what it is. And I'm like completely freaking out. I'm like trying to stay calm so Mom doesn't get freaked out, because, I realize that me freaking out, if she sees me freaking out, my mom is the kind of person, if I freak out, she freaks out. So I'm like trying to stay calm so Mom doesn't freak out. But it got to the point where some of the family arrived, thankfully. One of Mom's brothers and his wife was there. It's Mom's one brother. And the brother and I were talking to Mom at this point, and the doctor and the nurses and stuff were working on it, and they're trying to get her to talk. Mom conks out, just gone. And both her brother and I are completely losing our minds at this point, and we're like, talk to us, we're like, come on, talk to us, and they thought she'd had a stroke at that point. They thought she had a stroke, and they thought she was going to die that night. She's not dead. She's still here. Clearly, she didn't die that night. That's the good news from that night. They ran all kinds of tests on her, and, it was a mess. It was just an unholy hot mess. And it's just, they put her in the ICU there at the hospital. They hooked her up to a machine. She threw up in the mask and everything. And it was a disaster. She came to, and she's like, she didn't even know what had happened the night before. When I got back up there to the hospital, later that same day, because I left the hospital with Tony at 1, 2, it was going on 2 in the morning, the following morning. And I was losing my mind. I was like, oh my God. And I told Tony, I said, you know what? I was like, I don't even know if they locked the door at her house. I was like, we need to go to her house and make sure everything's okay. And the poor dog. I was like, we need to go check on the dog to make sure that poor little thing is not losing its mind. oh my God, what happened? That poor dog. I was more worried about the dog than I was coming back here. I'm like, let's go check on her house. Let's go check on the dog to make sure the dog is okay. I mean, much to my credit, I was worried about the dog. I was like, let's go check on the dog and make sure everything's locked up at her house and everything's okay. Everything was fine. The dog was beside itself to see us. The poor dog. Well, later that day, I get up and we go back down there to see Mom. And the doctor comes in and sits down with us and says, okay, I want to hear from you what exactly happened. And I related that whole story that I just told to the doctor. And he went, okay. He's like, that's basically the same story that the folks downstairs in the ER told me. He's like, okay, that clarifies a lot of stuff. And they like I said, after that, they still weren't 100% sure what happened to her the night before. They ran tests, and they did everything, like they threw whatever kind of test that they could do at the hospital at her. It turns out, after she was there, they still, it took them 3-4 days maybe, but it was they didn't figure it out the first couple of days for sure. They initially she had a stroke. They had a stroke. It was 3-4 days later when they're like, no, she has, and I'm going to try to say this right, glioblastoma something. That sounds right. Brain cancer. It's a fancy way of saying brain cancer. Okay? I mean, my mother has brain cancer. And it's right here on the left side of her head, leaning up against her language center, in the middle of her head, right where they can't operate on her. And this is the hot mess that's been going on with my mom since June of last year. It's getting to the point where I can hear the fat lady warming up, if you know what I'm saying. It's been 13 months almost. 13 months almost. And this past weekend was not fun for me. Friday night, I got told that things have progressed to the point where, Mom, something happened to Mom Friday, and she's not been doing good. Because, I went and seen her this past Tuesday, basically a week ago now, because today's, as I look at the microwave, it's, pretty much going on midnight. So it was on the 4th of July, Mom was fine. Fine as fuck. She's talking to me, carrying on, just, fine, whatever. But sometime between Tuesday, when I saw her on the 4th of July, and Friday, everything went to hell. And, it all went to hell. And at this point, I'm like, well, I've got stuff going on with Tony. And, I was like, I have got stuff going on with Tony. I've got stuff I need to take care of with him. Well, I was like, well, I'm going to, I was so just fried Friday and Saturday. Somebody asked me, oh, are you going to go see Mom? This is on Friday and Saturday. I'm like, Friday, I was like, I just got in the house with him. I'm hot. I'm tired. I just want to sit here for 20 minutes and just not have to get up and drive back to the other end of the county just to see her. It's not that I don't care. It's just, you got to understand, I'm hot and I'm tired. Come off it. And then I was in a really evil mood on Saturday. I was just like, I got out to that house and all I wanted to do was lay on the floor. I was tired. My whole left leg was just my knee was hurting because it's I went to the store to pick up something to eat for Tony because I was like, I'm not cooking. This is on Saturday. And I usually like to have a motorized cart because my knees lock up on me now, regularly. And it's and then I lose feeling in my feet because that's from the, issues going on with my lower legs. And this is why I get tired a lot easier. I don't have MS or, cystic fibrosis or whatever. It's that cellulitis in my legs. And I just was like, I'm not coming to see her. I'm like, it's not that I don't care. It's just I'm tired and I'm not feeling good. And I'm just, I'm like, I just literally got out here. All I want to do is sit here and chill. That's all I want to do is just sit here and chill with Tony. Yesterday, I'm speaking still as if it's Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. Well, Tony went back to work. Yay, Tony. Well, I literally, in addition to having problems with my legs, I have diabetes, okay? So I have to take extra care of myself, all right? I had gotten to the library because I was I needed to look some stuff up. I was there for a reason, and I just literally got out of my car and was getting my stuff together, and I started feeling a diabetic episode coming on. I started feeling sick, and it's like I know me well enough to know when I start feeling that way, and I knew I hadn't really eaten a whole lot. I'd maybe had a small piece of candy, a couple pieces of candy before I left here to go take Tony to work. Well, I was like, I have to go get in the library. I have some food with me, and I have to get in the library, and I have to eat. Right as I was pulling all my stuff together, somebody called me from the family. I won't say who. And they're like, well, you have to come right now to see her. It's like, look, I said I was going to come see her today, just not right now. I said, I'll come see her later. And she's like, okay, well, I'll tell her you're coming later. And I'm like, exactly. And at that point, I was like, okay, I cannot go see her right now. No way. No way. I was like, I am not wrecking this car because I have to go see my mom right now because so-and-so said so. No, I'm not getting into a wreck because, I'm having a diabetic issue because I have to go see my mom. Darling, if I tell you I'm going to see her later, take my word for it. There's a reason why I'm doing it, and I don't feel like I need to explain myself. But at this point, it's clear that I have to. I got in there, and I set all my stuff down, and I got out my food. Well, that night I had to go to the bathroom really bad. Well, I got in there, and I went to the bathroom. I went and sat down at a table, and I had to eat. Because I was feeling very sick at that point from the diabetes. And I had me some tuna and some water. And I was still very shaky. And I'm like, oh my God, seriously. I had to sit there for 2-3 hours just to make absolutely sure that I wasn't going to get sick. And I was like, okay. And it's like, I felt like somebody had stuck a knife in my stomach. And I'm just like, I gotta sit here, because I'm like, my mom will understand. If she dies while I'm sitting here being sick, my mom will understand that, if it's like I was having a medical emergency and I had to put myself in front of everybody else, including her, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'm having a medical emergency right now, and I'm like, I need to sit here and I need to take care of me. If it happens, it happens. I don't want her to die without me getting to tell her goodbye and what have you. But people have died on me, and I've not been able to tell them goodbye. I mean, and Mom knows how I feel about it, because I've talked to her about it. But that was years ago. It was 38 years ago, so, it is what it is. But yeah, if it happens with her, unfortunately, it happens with her. And it's just, that's how I feel about it. I'm like, it's not that I don't care, and don't get the wrong idea, okay? Although a few of you will hear what I say and misconstrue it. If you do, it's on you. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm at the point now, and I have to warn a lot of you, I've already started cutting people off. I won't say who I've cut off, but at this point, and this is also a warning, I've had to start cutting people off just because I can't deal with it anymore. I'm tired of dealing with it. We're stressed out, and me. and another person had words, and it's because of the third person that I just was referring to that I cut off. I had to cut them off because of me and another person had to got into a fight over what that person was saying. I've cut them off, and well, it is what it is. And the other thing is, and I need to talk about this part because this goes all into what I've just discussed. A lot of people seem to think I'm made of money. I'm not, okay? What it is there's a link to a GoFundMe page on here, on the links for this on the description of this video. I'm going to give you all watching a choice, and this is how I feel about it at this point. You have two choices. This is how I feel about it. If you think I need to see my mom, here's what you need to do. Okay, you can either keep that opinion to yourself and realize that not only A, am I not made of money, but B, Tony and I have no income coming in right now. Okay? And that's the reason why I have the GoFundMe link on there. The other choice B, is, okay, if you want me to go see mom that bad, pay for my gas. That's why that's there. Go pay for my gas. Drop $400 or $500 into that GoFundMe fundraiser that's linked on this video's description. And, in a few days or so, when they transfer it over, hey, great, but otherwise I don't want to hear about it, and don't lie on me. And that's the other problem, is I've been having people lie on me. And I'm not going to call those people out because they're going to keep doing it and it might exacerbate the problem, and I'm just done with the drama. At this point, I want to tell you all, I'm done with the drama. If you call me up and well, you need to come see your mom, okay, well then, go put $400 or $500 in my GoFundMe page that I have there, and that, or keep it to yourself. That's your two choices. And if you're that determined for me to show up to see mom, I don't have enough gas to see Tony or take Tony to work and see mom. In fact, to be honest, speaking of gas, I've already blown through a quarter of a tank of gas just today. From last night to today, in the last 24 hours, driving Tony to and from work with everything, and we're not going to have enough gas to get it, until he starts getting paid again. So, seriously, if you want me to see mom, that's what it's going to take at this point, is y'all contributing to that GoFundMe page. And that's how I feel about it. Otherwise, don't be telling me, well, you got to come see her. Okay, well, go drop some money into that GoFundMe account. If that's how you feel about it, okay, that's how I feel about it. It's not that I don't want to see her. It's I have to pick, getting Tony to work or being stranded. And Tony needs to go to work, okay? And Tony's not going to be getting paid anytime in the near future. It's not like he gets paid daily, okay? He gets paid after 3-4 weeks. And he may not get a check, like if he get his first check that he's supposed to get, which will probably be in about 3 weeks or so, he probably won't be killing anything. Hey Jake. But yeah, it is what it is. And I do appreciate y'all watching, but yeah, it's just, with everything going on, seriously, I wouldn't be asking for the help if I legitimately hand of Jesus didn't need it. And I'm frustrated. I have to admit to being frustrated. Yeah, I want to spend time with my mom, but I also have to take Tony to work. And, we have bills that are past due, and we're getting, Jake, it's, Tony's not working, and my mom's dying of brain cancer, and we have no money, and people are like, well, you need to, go see your mom. I'm like, with what money? I need gas money, and I need help. I wouldn't be asking, and I don't like airing my business, on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. But it is what it is at this point. I mean, I realize money doesn't grow on trees. My grandfather was a landscaper, or he'd have given me $100 bill tree. He would have gave my parents $100 bill tree. Come on, I'd be shaking that money tree for all it's worth. Believe me, I'd be out at mom and dad's house every other day going, yeah. Seriously, I mean, but yeah, it's just I'm so frustrated right now that it's not even funny. I mean, and the other thing is, out of all of this though, I do have, I think, and I'm not going to swear to this, one good little bit of news, other than the fact that Tony went back to work yesterday on Sunday. Well, I think I sold another copy of my book, and that brings up another point. I have a link on on the video description for this video for my book at Barnes & Noble. It's also on Amazon, which I didn't include the link to Amazon just because I was going to talk about the fact that with Barnes & Noble, I actually know somebody a friend of ours did this. He went into the local Barnes & Noble and actually ordered my book from the store directly, which you can do. That's the main reason why I did it. But anyway, if you want to buy copies of my book, go ahead. But my thing is, I just want everybody to understand that, everything. I've been getting it from both sides. I mean, it's just, it blows, to be honest. And what's worse is, I had reached out to my mom's pastor and said, hey, just so you know, Mom, is like, it's A and B. A is Mom's getting worse, apparently, and B, Tony's out of rehab, the hospital, what have you, and Tony's sort of kind of halfway home. Sort of. I was like, I just thought I should let you know. Yeah. Thank you, Jake. But yeah, and what's really crazy is, Tony gets a phone call from one of Mom's brother-in-laws, and he's like, did your mother-in-law die? And Tony's like, not that I'm aware of. She's, as of right this minute, and as a matter of fact, right this minute as I shoot this video, Mom's very much alive, and she's not doing so hot. That's the long and the short of it. She's just not, it's snowballed. It's like from June of last year to like this past weekend. It just went, just downhill. Well, I just felt like it was just getting on my nerves with everything that's been going on like the past 4 days. And I'm like, I just need to get on here and I need to talk about that and just let you all know, hey, look, here's the story, here's the situation. It is what it is. Yes, I realize that some of you think I need to go spend time with my mom, and it's not that I don't want to. It's more like I have to pick my battles and I have to conserve my gas. I mean, and it's just, and it's not just, that GoFundMe is not just for the gas. It's, us paying for the phone bill and our rent, basically. And, our, like our internet. So that way, like if there's an emergency, somebody can call me on the phone, because believe it or not, in this condo that I live in, unless I am on Wi-Fi here with my phone, you're not going to talk to me. And it's not that I'm trying to avoid people. It's more like this phone does not get a signal in here without it being attached to the Wi-Fi. I mean, that's the only way I can get any kind of phone call in or out. I'm serious. I am not making this up. I mean, and it's not just with my smartphone. Okay, I'm not making this up. I wish I was. But it's been so bad that back in the day when I had those old flip phones and a pay-as-you-go plan. I had to walk out of my condo and walk down the street just so I could have a signal. I mean, just to make a phone call to somebody. And I'm like, excuse me. And I've just not been, like I said, I've not been feeling good, especially yesterday and today. It's just stress. I had to walk literally down the street to the clubhouse parking lot just to have a strong enough signal to make a phone call. And back in the day, we had, well, it used to be called Cincinnati Bell. It's called Alta Fiber now. But back in the day when we had a landline here and the internet bundled together through Cincinnati Bell, we had decided to cancel our internet but keep our phone. God only knows why they turned off the internet, or turned off our phone and kept the internet. And I'm like, I went to make a phone call because my boss was like, call me. And I'm like, hang on, let me call you. And I'm like, I had to get on the chat and say, I'm gonna have to walk outside because some dummy at Cincinnati Bell just turned off our phone, and I have to call you from my cell phone. I have to go outside to get a signal. Later on, like the next day, I had to drive. It's like I could not, for whatever reason, get a signal worth a darn on my cell phone. Well, I had to drive all the way to where Cold Spring and Highland Heights meets on Martha Lynn Collins Boulevard, up here at the north end of town, at the village, or at the shopping mall up there, just to be able to call Cincinnati Bell to tell them, hey, you fools turned off our landline when you should have turned off our cable. We still have the cable. I'm like, we want our phone, not the internet. Turn it off. Turn the right one on and the wrong one, and turn the right one off. Figure it out. It is, about an hour or two later, they had it fixed. I was like, seriously. And Tony and I looked at each other, rolled our eyes, and went, these people. But yeah, anyway, it's going on like 12:30 in the morning at this point. So, and I'm tired, and I gotta get to bed because I've got to chase my tail tomorrow, basically. I've been chasing my tail for the last 4 days, seems like. Well, anyway, Rosie, thanks for listening to me parade on about my mom's medical problem. But, at this point, I just feel like I needed to clear everything up. And it's just, a lot of people need to hear, okay, here's what's going on. This is why I haven't been around. I have to pick my battles. Well, anyway, I want to get off here because, like I said, I got to get to bed. And I've got places to go and things to do later today. Well, if there's any updates as far as Tony and or my mom, I'll try to get on here and share them. But thanks for watching. Have a good evening. Bye.